Known for her rich culture, beliefs, customs, and history of storytelling, which stretches back thousands of years with tales, music, and people passing from one generation to the next, Africa is completely blessed. Along with these possessions comes the discovery of uniquely beautiful and hardworking talents who spend countless hours in developing materials that best talk about the African continent. Conversations have continued to improve on how best to nurture and grow African talents for Africa and not for the European communities, especially in the broadcast, movie, and storytelling space. Recently, movies and documentaries about Africa's creative talents have caught the attention of the globe. Who best can unearth our creative talents? That's a big, big question. Now, joining us this morning is a Cameroonian American who has worked for the ABC, WCIU TV, Bishop T.D. Jakes International Faith, and the Family Film Festival, and also, a lot more places. She's currently the head of Global Communication and Partnerships, Del York Group. Let's welcome Maliz Mahop. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Osa.
So let's get into it. There's been so much talk about the talents across Africa, and what seems to not be done right. Why African talents don't seem to be getting as much publicity as they should be getting. What would you say is the biggest struggle in that regard?
So I would say honestly, it's capacity building. I think it's happening right now. Fortunately for me, I work for someone who's been a forerunner in this space. So Lina City Hosta. And so when we think about what capacity building is and the empowerment of these individuals creatively, they're talented, but they're broke. So the lack of resources and being able to have different institutions and partnerships that will be able to build into these people, it's there, but we could do better.
Okay, and of course, lately, there has been a little bit more. I think if you would agree, it has gotten better.
It has gotten way better, better.
Yeah. So are these partnerships going to continue? Would you expect that there should be more done from the African continent itself that should give it a boost?
So I think collaboration is key. You see there's opportunities so many times for us to collaborate, like even within countries on the continent. So, Rwandans and Nigerians coming together, Senegal and Congo. So using different opportunities for us to cross countries on the continent to come together to boost these different creative ideas. That's the first part, right? And then also knowing that Africa is now. Everyone wants to invest in Africa. Why? Many times people ask me, Maliz, why did you move to Lagos? Why did you move to Nigeria from Texas and after living in London? It's because there's so much vast riches and culture here. And if we don't begin to identify that in a way that we know that, okay, when we come together, there's more that we can do, we'll lose. So it's not that things aren't happening, but it can happen on a way greater scale when we decide to position ourselves.
So what can the big corporates also do? One of the things that you mentioned, is lack of funding. Mm-hmm. That level of support, is seemingly lacking here because maybe the governments across Africa haven't really seen that much value in those talents and those creative abilities. So what would you say that the big corporate companies and corporate organizations across the world, what roles can they play?
I would say regardless of who you are, right? You don't have to be a marketing agency to have a budget for creatives. I would definitely say that there should be a way that you should input this into your budget to know that, okay, even if you're in the oil industry, that there's an opportunity for you to support the creative industry because where we're at now, especially in the digital marketing space, there's so many things that you can do in agriculture. There's so many things that you can do in technology. So if we continue to use those mediums and have the corporations and the government entities begin to pour into it in that way, that's a good way to start. Fortunately, in Lagos State, Governor Sonlu, who's someone who supports the creative industry immensely. We've had a Creative Lagos program where we sponsored hundreds of students to come and learn filmmaking, acting, digital marketing, public relations, all these different courses. And that only happens when governments and corporations back these things. So setting out that this is a part of your agenda from the beginning is the way to go.
Yeah. So in the time that you've been around, can you share with us some of the things that have completely blown your mind? some of the things that you've also seen, from creatives here in Nigeria that have completely blown you away?
Man, so I think that like the opportunity that I've had, especially seeing both worlds, right? So there's Africans in the diaspora, and growing up in Texas, I was able to see people that have been able to like do amazing things. Then coming here in Nigeria and see the resilience, that really gets me. So the limited resources that they have, and to be able to turn around these projects, especially like in our academy, when the students come, you see them walk in one way and then they come out a different way. So we bring Hollywood instructors to come and train them.
Oh, wow.
To be able, and people have come from Ghana, they've come from Congo, they've come from Ivory Coast, and to be able to train in this way. So when I see the fact that people are so resilient to train themselves, to use the opportunities that they have, it blows my mind, because nobody's waiting for something to be handed to them.
It's beautiful. One thing that has always been spoken about, as one of the challenges here is plagiarism.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that African creative have also, suffered, one way or the other.
Yeah.
How, bad is that problem, and how can it be dealt with?
Ooh, that is a very tough problem. And then it goes back to the opportunities of plugging yourselves in creative ecosystems that protect you. So right now, actually, Del York Group, in partnership with Storyland Studios and Lagos State Government, we're building a film studios and amusement park in the Ekpe area. And so what we're doing that is because we want Africa to be able to have a place where their intellectual property can be protected, where people can come in and collaborate versus stealing ideas or taking and maybe misrepresenting or appropriating. Like, these are the reasons why that we have to create ecosystems. You have to plug yourself somewhere where you know that you can be protected, but also what you're doing will be cherished and cultivated.
Well, it sounds like there's so much, that can be unearthed from that space. There's never, a lack of talent, across the continent.
Definitely not.
People just need the opportunity to grow and be better. But I want to, ask about something. If you remember he's currently, I think, the most popular TikToker, Khabib, I think that's his name, Khabib.
Okay.
The most followed TikToker, that guy. But there's always been concerns, that when you get on that stage, it feels like for some reason, those platforms do not appreciate Africans, and don't appreciate African creatives as much. You see that there's more a promotion for foreign, Caucasian, outside Africa, basically, yes. Those creatives. Do you think we're going to get to a point where we no longer need those platforms? We no longer need the likes of TikTok and every other platform. We can now have a place where we can get the most appreciation.
This is such a good question, Elsa, because we have to be able to understand that we can create those things ourselves. Africans are leading in the technology space right now. If you look at where seed funding is going to, it's going to Africa and technology platforms. So what stops someone from creating their own TikTok, from creating their own platform, to be able to have ideas that translate into monetary gains and help them build their economy in whatever African country you are? And so we see that happening. There's a number of companies that have scaled to different levels. It was a small idea that had become something more. And that's why I'm excited. I'm excited for Africa's creative economy. I'm excited that people are using capacity building to be able to train, whether it be youth, whether it be mid-professionals, across the board in different sectors. So like I said, you'll be shocked that you would think like, okay, maybe I'm in medicine, this doesn't apply to me. It doesn't matter what profession you're in, if you understand that the capability that the creative industry has and how you can monetize your ideas and your tools, so much that you can do.
So what word would you put out to those who have the funding to invest in creative space but just don't see it as valuable? They would rather invest in maybe tech or in medicine or in agriculture. What word would you say to, or what would you say to those people?
I would say look at the stats. Look at the fact that the creative industry is in billions of dollars. There's a reason why that Netflix and Hulu and all other different big companies are coming into Africa to collaborate and produce these productions in South Africa and Kenya, here in Lagos. So, and I just want to say that, like, if you're looking at that and understand the fact that like there's so much creative entrepreneurship that's happening, and your resources will definitely translate into something that is adding to the economy and adding to back to your business, which they care about, right? Their bottom line. There's no reason why you shouldn't invest. The opportunity, like I said, I started off telling you that Africa is now. It's because it is now. It's always been, but I feel like it's now that the world is beginning to see us on a larger stage.
Absolutely. There's a lot more to Africa than just Afrobeat.
Yes, way more than Afrobeats.
Absolutely.
There's poetry. There's so many things. Like the arts is very, very wide. And again, digital. Let's plug into digital. Let's plug into the communication space. There's people like you who have these wonderful platforms and New Central TV doing amazing things to propel these stories and these ideas.
Absolutely. The very, very amazing Maliz Mahop, thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope that, the space continues to grow. I would like to speak with you again. And when our next conversation should be filled with so many success stories as to African creatives.
I have a lot of good things to tell you coming up next time. So thank you again, Osa.
Absolutely.